Surge of the First Division told a fraud trial today of the huge amounts of money they were paid in illegal deals. Swindon's former manager, Lou Macari, the former chairman, Brian Hillier, and accountant Vince Farrar all deny tax evasion charges. One player said he was given £1,500 tax-free just because he was getting married. Simon Whitby now reports from Winchester Crown Court.
Chris Kamara told the jury today how his basic wage was routinely topped up by undeclared cash payments. He, like other players who'll be giving evidence, has been granted immunity from prosecution. The Inland Revenue say that Swindon, then a 4th Division side, couldn't legally afford a player of Chris Kamara's standing. He wanted £400 a week, and he got it, he said, through a complicated contract arranged by the then manager Lou Macari. Some of his income and bonuses were declared on that contract, but other payments, like a car and £30 a week in cash, were hidden. And he got £1,200 in cash when Swindon were promoted to Division 3. Payments, say the prosecution, that added up to a swindle of hundreds of thousands of pounds while Lou Macari was in charge at Swindon. It's claimed he and the then chairman, Brian Hillier, reigned for 5 years over a management that was riddled with dishonesty. And with accountant Vince Farrar, they conducted a massive cover-up of under-the-counter payments to players. All three deny conspiracy to cheat the Inland Revenue. Mr. Farrar also denies a charge of false accounting. The trial continues. Simon Whitby, HTV News, Winchester Crown Court.
Towards a new house. 3 former club officials, Lou Macari, Brian Hillier and Vince Farrar, all deny defrauding the Inland Revenue. Simon Whitby reports.
Ross McLaren's revelations in the witness box gave another startling glimpse of the behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing that went on at Swindon Town Football Club. He and other players giving evidence, like last year's top scorer Duncan Shearer and midfielder Martin Ling, have all been granted immunity from prosecution for this trial. As well as his formal contract, McLaren had an agreement negotiated on the side with the then manager Lou Macari. He wanted £20,000 for a house, £150 a month for a car loan, and £15,000 if Swindon ever reached Division 1. On top of that, in his official contract, he was worth £500 a week, he lived free, and he had the usual bonuses. Another player, Dave Bamber, told how he received a signing-on fee and £750 in cash after his first year with the club. There were Man of the Match awards of up to £300, and he was given £1,200 in cash when Swindon won promotion. All the players said they negotiated their contracts and personal deals with the then manager Lou Macari. With his chairman Brian Hillier, it's claimed they ran a management riddled with dishonesty. And they needed the club accountant Vince Farrar to cover up the massive tax swindle from 1985 to 1990. On the pitch, Swindon enjoyed the best 5 years of their history, but off the pitch it's claimed it was a story of secret deals and cash payments in brown envelopes, no questions asked. The trial continues. Simon Whitby, HTV News, Winchester Crown Court.
Macari, the club's former chairman Brian Hillier and Vince Farrar, who used to do the accounting, are all charged with defrauding the Inland Revenue. Francis Donovan has this report.
Bob Jeffries told the Winchester jury he felt he had to resign as the club's company secretary after 20 years' service because he just couldn't work with Macari. Mr. Jeffries said he disclosed at a directors' meeting what he believed to be illegal side payments made between the club and some of its players. He claimed he'd been accused of mischief-making and at one meeting said Macari had told him, "I can break any rule I wish to." He said he resigned some weeks after that because he just wasn't happy with the working conditions at the club, where the atmosphere, he said, was strained. He also claims 3 directors criticised him for other comments he made about the former chairman, Brian Hillier. During the course of the trial at Winchester, the court has heard illegal cash payments were made to some of Swindon's players, as the club shot from the 4th to the 1st Division in just 5 years. Macari from Loughton in Essex has since gone on to manage Stoke City. Hillier from Carlton in Wiltshire and Farrar from Swindon are no longer at the club. All 3 deny defrauding the Inland Revenue between 1984 and 1989. Farrar also denies charges of false accounting, and the trial continues.
Verbally promised by a previous manager. He said unofficial payments were designed to get round Football League rules and had nothing to do with avoiding tax.
Asked if he was taking part in attempts to cheat the Inland Revenue, Mr. Macari said, "I had more to do with my time." And he said he had no reason to assume that tax on side agreements wouldn't be paid by the club. The prosecution then moved on to the question of cheating. Did Mr. Macari cheat the Football League? If you'd used any other word, he said, I'd have agreed, but I don't like the word cheat. Did he cheat his own players when he was party to a bet placed against them winning an FA Cup tie at Newcastle? I never even considered it, he said, adding that the bet had been placed as a sort of insurance premium by the club against the cost of losing the tie. Mr Macari, former club chairman Brian Hillier and ex-club accountant Vince Farrar deny cheating the Inland Revenue, and the trial continues. Martin Pelthorpe, BBC News West, at Winchester Crown Court.
The former manager Lou Macari has been found not guilty, but the jury has returned guilty verdicts on the former chairman Brian Hillier and the former club accountant Vince Farrar. The judge will sentence them later.
The trial at Winchester Crown Court, which started 5 weeks ago, heard how the taxman was cheated when under-the-counter payments were made to the club's top players. But the former manager, Lou Macari, who always said he knew nothing of the conspiracy, was cleared by the jury after 5 hours. The former chairman, Brian Hillier, was found guilty by a majority verdict of 10-2. But there was a unanimous guilty verdict for the accountant Vince Farrar, who was also convicted of false accounting. From Winchester Crown Court, Francis Donovan reports.
Lou Macari was impassive at first as he heard the verdict, then broke down and cried as he was free to leave just a short time ago. The club's former chairman, Brian Hillier, was found guilty by a 10-2 majority. The accountant, Vince Farrar, had a unanimous verdict recorded against him. As the judge thanked the jury for the services, he said it had been a long and complex trial, which had included 30 crates of documents and more than 50 witnesses. Witnesses had included past and present Swindon players. The trial has covered the meteoric rise of Swindon from the 4th almost to the 1st division in just 5 years under Macari. A rise the Inland Revenue claim was helped by side payments to players. Tonight, after more than 5 weeks in the dock, Lou Macari walks from court, a free man. Francis Donovan, HTV News, Winchester Crown Court.
Club shot from the 4th to the 2nd division in just 5 years. It was the most successful period in Swindon's history. But by then, rumours began circulating of dirty play off the field, of illegal payments to players, cash in hand, with no tax declared. And while Swindon players were winning promotion to the 1st division, the full weight of football's own law was ready to come down on the club.
Swindon Town Football Club be demoted by 2 divisions, i.e. to the 3rd division as of season 1990-91.
But the Inland Revenue had only just started. Lou Macari, the then chairman Brian Hillier and accountant Vince Farrar were arrested in dawn raids. The allegation at Winchester Crown Court that they cooked the books by making tax-free illegal payments to players. Players including the captain Colin Calderwood admitted they received match bonuses, loans, cars, all tax-free. Players like Ross McLaren, Duncan Shearer and Martin Ling were among footballers granted immunity from prosecution if they gave evidence against their former bosses. The Swindon scandals had a long-term effect on the club, but now they're gearing up for a new season and a fresh start free from controversy. The end of the tax fraud trial means the club can at last shake off the past.
I want us to start this season and go forward. Forget about everything that's gone on. We're here now to do the things that we all know we have to do, and Glenn Hoddle and John Gorman and Peter Day and all these people are going to gel everything and everybody together, and with our help, the directors and my help, we're going to have a go at doing things. And I think we will do things. We need help. Of course we need help.
Is Swindon Town now squeaky clean in its management and its contracts and its payments?
Absolutely.
This, then, is the end of a dismal chapter in the history of a club that became dubbed Swindle Town. Now the hope is that Swindon can build a new reputation, one of success and fair play on and off the pitch. Simon Whitby, HTV News, Swindon Town.
And just to confirm, the Swindon Town tax fraud trial has ended with an acquittal for the former manager Lou Macari, but the jury returned guilty verdicts for the former chairman Brian Hillier and accountant Vince Farrar.
But in a football fiddle which cheated the taxman. The club's former accountant, Vince Farrar, also found guilty yesterday of making illegal payments to players, was given a suspended jail sentence of 6 months. The judge said he had to make an example to stop illegal behaviour by football clubs.
Lou Macari wept in court as he heard Brian Hillier, his friend and one-time colleague at Swindon Town, sentenced to a year in prison. Mr Hillier came to court looking reasonably cheerful after yesterday's guilty verdict. but he was impassive in the dock as sentence was passed. Mr. Hillier's barrister asked the court that the fact that Hillier had not benefited personally from any tax-free deals arranged between management and players at the club should be considered in his favour. The judge agreed this should be taken into consideration, but told Hillier, "You're an intelligent businessman who knew full well that in making these kind of payments you would be cheating the inland revenue." The judge went on to say that it was time an example was made of somebody who tried to cheat the taxman in this way, as a warning to other clubs who tried the same thing. The club's former accountant, Vince Farrar, received a 6-month suspended sentence for his part in the conspiracy. Mr. Farrar, can we ask you how you're feeling now?
I've been advised by our solicitor not to make any comment, but obviously I'm personally relieved to a certain extent.
Can we ask you what your reaction is to Mr. Hillier's sentence?
I feel extremely sad.
As the judge commended the Inland Revenue for the way they had conducted the investigation, it was revealed the £100,000 Swindon owed the taxman has now been paid back by the club.
We have to make it absolutely clear to everyone what the consequences of evasion are. Tax evasion isn't a victimless crime. The real victims are the great majority of honest taxpayers in this country who, in effect, have to pay more tax because of tax evasion.
Lou Macari spent several hours comforting Mr. Hillier in the court cells. The solicitor who represented them both said Mr. Hillier would be appealing against his sentence and conviction.
He will find it a little difficult to come to terms with in the short term at least, but he's a resourceful man. He'll serve his sentence, or such of it as he needs to, depending on the outcome of the appeal, and pick up his life when he comes out.
The last scene in the Swindon Town fraud trial will be played out a week tomorrow, when the club's former secretary, Dave King, who pleaded guilty to the charge of conspiracy at the outset of the trial, will be sentenced. Frances Donovan, HTV News, Winchester Crown Court.